When it comes to the holiday season, it's all too easy to get swept up in a last-minute rush. This inevitably leads to gifting under pressure, overspending, and feeling frazzled. But what if we told you that being intentional with your planning now could make all the difference? In this episode, we're talking about the benefits of thinking ahead, especially when it comes to gift giving. From setting boundaries to budgeting and starting conversations early, we're diving into how a little forethought now can transform the season ahead.
You're listening to the Declutter Hub podcast, bringing you tried and tested, no-nonsense tips and advice from the leading experts in decluttering and organising your home. Now here are your hosts, Ingrid Jansen and Lesley Spellman.
Hello and welcome, listeners. I'm Ingrid.
And I'm Lesley. Now, if you're here for the very first time today, or you've been listening in for ages, we want to say a huge thank you. And we have a little favour to ask.
If you like what you hear, be sure to hit that follow or subscribe button, share us with your friends, or leave us a review. It makes a huge difference to us. Well, hello, Lesley. I am a little bit worried. It's only September. And we're talking about the C word, Christmas, this gift, the season of the party season. We've got it all coming, hurtling towards us, but I'm still in like my holiday mode. And why are we talking about this so early? I know it's late, but it's early. You know what?
I do, yeah. Well, we're in good company, aren't we? Because it's everywhere in the shops at the moment. Do you know what I mean? So, people are obviously, if it's in the shops, people are obviously buying it, right? So, yeah, I know it's early. It's definitely too early for me. But I think there's a lot of people every year because we have these conversations. We do certain podcasts every year. And we have the same conversations and people are like, I'm doing that, but and you're like, oh, whatever. So, yeah, I don't really want to talk about it, if I'm honest, because it is a little bit early, but I know that being forearmed and thinking about things early is going to stand you in good stead going forward. So for the avoidance of doubt, we're talking about all the holidays that are coming up, probably around December time, including Christmas and Hanukkah and all of the above that we celebrate. And most of those celebrations, whatever they are and whatever it is that you celebrate, come with gift giving for other people. Now, I think it's fair to say that things have changed quite a bit over the years and people have got a little bit more mindful of gift giving. But we wanted to really drill down and give you a few of our thoughts and then some very specific examples of the kinds of gifts that would fit a clutter-free desire. Right, Ingrid?
I know. And I love planning, Lesley. So although it does seem early, it is so nice to start to think about things already now. And I think gifts is a massive part of the holiday season. And one thing that people really get worried about because they're thinking about the money and the time to go shopping and the thinking of things and how when are we going to wrap it and is it going to arrive on time and have I got the latest gadget and what is this year's thing that's going to be the hit at the end of the year. So all these things. So being prepared can definitely help you. But yes, I completely agree with you. Lots more people are now thinking about, okay, I just don't want to just run to the shops and just grab some stuff off the shelves. I don't want to get another pair of socks and another random book or just, I don't know, a set of boxer shorts or smellies that I don't even know if people like and need. There is more thought kept coming into it. And I think that's really, really nice to see.
I think it's just, I think people are realizing that people are what makes the world go round. And it's interesting, actually, because this morning, before we even decided we were going to talk about this today, it's I've got two nephews. They both live in London now. And it's one of their birthdays tomorrow and another one in a month's time. And so, we kind of do a bit of a money handover, for their gifts. And it's becoming a bit impersonal. They're a lot older now. They're not kids. They're kind of, well, one of them's going to be 30, right? So it's kind of should I just be sending money? And so I just sent him a text this morning and said, Steve and I will be in London. Why don't we just all go out for dinner and we'll pay for dinner? And isn't that a nicer thing to do than to just hand over money that's probably not enough to be that meaningful for them, but actually to spend the evening together? So it's that kind of principle, isn't it? That actually the money, much as I'm sure you can buy something with it, but not that special, is it? Where we're spending an evening together is.
Yeah, yeah. I think my mom has already done this for years and years and years. So of course, when the kids were little, they did get, their presents with Sinterklaas or with Christmas. But the last kind of, gosh, wow, it must be at least 7 or 8 years. It kind of got to a point where you just don't know what to buy for them anymore, because the stuff that they want is either out of budget or, it's just, you have to club together with multiple people to do this. And she has already then at the time said, listen, I'd rather do something nice together as a family for Christmas. And it can be bowling, it can be going to the circus, it can be ice skating, it can be, I don't know, a music concert and then a dinner afterwards. So we've been really starting to get more and more creative in the different things that we are doing. And that's kind of her present to all of us, which is lovely, because we, of course, are here in the UK. All of my family's in the Netherlands. So it's really nice to be able to do something fun and spend that time together. So I am completely all about, not stuff, but more kind of experiences. I absolutely love that.
I mean, our house is definitely a bit of a kind of 50-50. So I'm not going to lie, we've come from a tradition of excess, particularly in Steve's family, for lots of different reasons. It just evolves that way and all that kind of stuff. And Steve kind of follows that on a little bit as well. So Christmas is quite the thing here, but at least 50% of the stuff that goes out is experiences now, because we all go to gigs together, to all different things. But they're kind of thoughtful, and Steve is very thoughtful about the gifts that he gives. But for him and I, we certainly are like, let's go away together, let's do that instead, or let's go for dinner together. We don't really buy each other things anymore unless they are practical things that we actually need. So we'd have that conversation. But I think it's important to see the evolution of time, to realise, when I was talking about my 2 nephews there, to realise that what's the point in that now that they're like coming up 30? Do you know what I mean? Like, how is that helpful? But I still want to recognise it. They're my 2 nephews. I've not got loads of nephews and nieces, and I still want to recognise it. I still want to do the right thing, but it's nice to spend time with them, because that's not something we do that often. So I think it's things change and evolve. And I think, for you, Ingrid, you've always, Sinterklaas is I think it's a bit of a different beast almost, isn't it, than Christmas? It's not quite so consumerist, dare I say. I mean, better than I do. Yes, there are gifts given, but it tends to be on a smaller scale, I think, generally, even if you don't go down this experiences route. Is it a different time than the sort of Christmas gift giving? So would you say that there's not as many gifts generally in Holland over that period than there are here? What would your take on that be?
Good question. I think Sinterklaas really, I think the gift giving, I think kids do get a lot of gifts with Sinterklaas, but maybe not as many as what I've seen here. Here it seems like a whole other level. But they do get lots of gifts from Sinterklaas, but it's really focused around younger children. So as soon as they kind of, I don't know, because people might be listening in the car to this podcast, but as soon as the kids get a little bit older, then it more goes to like a surprise, when you kind of have to make something yourself and make a poem, and so it changes. And then when we were in our teens, we kind of changed more to a couple of gifts with Christmas, because we found that more kind of a family celebration that we got together at that time. So it's really evolved over time as well. Like, now we don't do presents anymore with my sister and everything, because we're like, I don't even know what I would buy for you. You know what I mean? It's really changed. And also, even within our own family, of course, my children get presents for their birthdays, but even when my husband and I have birthdays, we don't, we rather go out for a meal or to the cinema or do something fun, an activity or anything like that. So we don't really do gift giving, as you know, because you are a very good gift giver and I have to really thought it stuff because I'm just not in that mindset anymore. So
I think
yeah,
it's really
I
not.
really,
Yeah, I think it's sorry, Ingrid. I think it's interesting the evolution, and this is why we want to talk about this today because some of
yeah,
these things, some of these conversations are difficult to have, and that's why we're talking about this in September because it's really important to,
yeah,
if you're thinking it, other people might be thinking it as well. So I think it was about 5 years ago now where in our sort of wider family, not my own individual family, but, brothers and sisters, things like that, nieces and nephews, we went down a Secret Santa route. We all get together on Christmas morning as we went down the Secret Santa route. So there's probably, I would say, 9, 10, 12 maybe in the group, and you only buy for one person. And so then because you don't have to buy 12 gifts, you put more thought into the one that you do buy. You've got a slightly higher budget than you would ordinarily have if you were buying all of those. And now that most of the people within the group are adults, we do something separate from my little nephew who's only 11. But, because we still want to do the thing for him because he's still a child. But he still wanted to be part of Secret Santa as well. So there was a time where we were all giving him gifts separately. We were then doing Secret Santa amongst the adults. And he was like, I want to be part of Secret Santa. So he gets double. So it's all good. But I think it's about having that conversation. And I remember back thinking it's quite a difficult subject to broach, really, because people have their own opinions on it. But someone needs to be brave and go, it's all about communication within families, within wider families. I know my 2 best friends, they do Secret Santa within their family now. I mean, my kids are not quite ready for that. We have broached the subject and they're like, why would we do that? I think they're definitely chips off the old block when it comes to stuff with their dad. But I think, I know they do that. And so there's maybe 6 or 7 of them in the family and they do a Secret Santa amongst their own individual family because, again, they're all adults now. And so I think, but it takes that one person to have that conversation and say, why don't we do something like this to cut down costs, to cut down on excess? And actually, it's really enriching and it's a nicer thing to do than just willy-nilly give gifts out.
yeah. I think the whole gift giving can be really problematic within families. Everybody's got different values. Everybody's got different budgets. Everybody's got different things that they find important. So, you've got maybe one part of the family who lives in a tiny apartment and is like, oh my gosh, I'm dreading this whole festive season because of I know all the stuff that's coming in. And others might be thinking, oh, I know I've got a bigger house, but money is really tight at the moment. And I really don't want to spend it, but because we've always done it this way. So I know the costs are going to be, racking up on my credit card bill that I'm going to have to pay off next year. So I think different people coming from different ways, right? Other people might be, but I'm a lot more environmentally friendly now. And I don't want to have all this new stuff. I'd rather go to a charity shop or vintage or reuse and reduce. And I don't want all this stuff to come into my house. So people start to have, within families, have different things they find important. And how do you get that all aligned and talked about without anybody being like, but we've always done it this way and getting all upset because people love the tradition as well of things. So it sounds easy, just do Secret Santa or but you have to really put a lot of people's opinion. You've got the grandparents, you've got the adults, you've got the children. Everybody might want something different. Everybody's got different budgets and size of houses. So there's a lot of things that kind of need to align. And it's not only in the festive season. I mean, that's what we're talking about now. But it's also with, housewarming gifts and baby showers and birthday presents and same kind of thing. But that's why we're talking about it now in September. So you can kind of go, what do I want? What's important for me? And how can I get the ball rolling possibly within my family to kind of go, Guys, how are we doing this whole festive gift giving situation this year? Because last year I was really, I have like 3 cupboards and I got 5 cupboards of stuff. I've got a problem here. So how are we going to do it?
I think it's trying to present the idea as if it's for the wider good, which ultimately it is, to me, from a budget perspective, from a stuff perspective, environmentally. There's no downside of buying less, is there really? But then you've got some people who enjoy giving as well. Some people get great joy from giving. So you can't leave those kind of things out. But I think it's not about presenting it as a fait accompli situation. It's much more about opening the discussion, the lines of communication in the first instance, and saying, a lot of people I know are doing this kind of thing. How do we all feel about it? Sticking it on a group chat, maybe, all of those kind of things. I think we communicate and decide about how you want to do it. And you do need to do it early. You can guarantee as well, if you raise this in, where we're now, sort of September time, if you raise this, people will have already bought those gifts. Some people will have bought gifts for other people already. And so it might be, not for this year, but let's park it and think about it in 2026, for example. So really, really important to think about it and to not be scared to break traditions and to put your own point across in terms of the way that you want to do it. Because you'll probably be surprised that people love it. I was the one who broached it in our family, and now people absolutely love it, and it's added this extra dimension into Christmas morning that people absolutely love, because we do it as a surprise, and so nobody knows who's bought for the other person. Then you can make it into a little game of guessing gamers who bought that and stuff like that. So it's really nice anyway. So
yeah.
But this is all very kind of hypothetical, isn't it, Ingrid? And so we were like, people will be like, okay, so if you want to do a Secret Santa, or if you want to buy something a little bit more intentional for a child, an adult, a partner, a parent, how do you do that? What kind of ideas have you got? Because I'm stumped and I'm just literally going to go and buy a body wash from Boots. So give me some ideas, like Ingrid. And so that's what we're going to do after the break.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back after your break. We are chatting about intentional gift giving. And we talked before the break a lot about why it can be really helpful to be more mindful in what gifts you buy. But we also realize that a lot of people might be stumped. Like, okay, if I don't want to get socks or boxer shorts or a body wash from Boots, like Lesley said, what am I going to do then? So let's now talk about ideas of stuff you can buy, because it doesn't always have to be stuff. It can be indeed an experience. It can be something that you can eat or drink. It can be a donation to a charity. It can be time that you want to spend together and do something fun. So there's loads of suggestions. So if we're thinking about intentional gifts then for kids, Lesley, what could we do instead of buying them another toy?
Yeah, I think it's really going to be, and this is where budget is difficult, and it depends on who you are. So there's things like, so Steve and I, for my nephew that I was talking about before, who's 11, so we always take him to the theatre, but that's not cheap, so taking him to the theatre is probably more than we would spend if we were buying a toy. Do you know what I mean? So you need to think about that as well, because there is a cost. Like, it's so expensive, isn't it, to go to the theatre, depending on where you go. And so it might be, you might have to join together to do something like that. But I know that he absolutely loves it. But with that kind of thing, going to the cinema, there are loads of free things as well. So Steve took him one night when I was away, took him to a free theatre performance that was in like an arts centre in Manchester. Days out of the zoo, if that's your thing. Museum, there's loads of free museums. Just because it's free doesn't mean to say that it's not got value, right? And so this is, and you could sort of piggyback that onto something else. So you could go to a free experience and then go for, a meal out or something, or an ice cream, or whatever that might be. So like a day out to do something, or a trip into the countryside. There's loads of stuff that's free, or the stuff that costs money, but it's more about that day out, spending quality time with that child.
Yeah, I know. And it doesn't have to be an all singing and dancing. We've got here locally a farm where you can feed the goats. Oh my gosh, kids love it. You know what I mean? And you the only thing you have to buy is buy some of the food that you are allowed to. You can't just randomly bring your own food and give that to the goats, but you have to buy the feed on the farm. But that can be fantastic indeed. With an ice cream, bring a blanket, bring a football, and you've got a whole day, a lovely day out. You also could go kind of more maybe in the direction of, okay, they want to try a new hobby or they want to try a new class, but they've never done it. So maybe they want, or maybe they want to have swimming lessons, or they want to do taekwondo or tennis. Of course, I would say tennis, Lesley. Or they would want to learn tennis, or they want to play a musical instrument, and they would love for you to hire their musical instrument instead of immediately buying it because you don't know if they like it yet. So those are also kind of things you could do.
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, and again, those kind of things, again, if you're talking about a term of stuff, might be something that as a family or as a group of individuals that you've clubbed together because, classes and dance lessons and swimming lessons, they're not cheap, right? So it's going to probably be more than you would ordinarily spend. So you need to be creative with that. I think, as well, just jumping back to the kind of experiences thing, I think it would be lovely, in a family sometimes. And how lovely is it to be able to go out with little kids and all your family? But sometimes it's really special to be able for a child just to be able to have one day where they're just with their mum, or one day where they're just with their dad, or extend it out one day where they're just with their uncle or auntie or cousin, or older cousin, anything like that. So to just have the gift is really about the one-on-one time rather than the experience. Do you know what I mean? So we can do things like that as well, which is lovely because things like that are priceless, and people, people love that because we spend too much time. Well, no, we do not spend too much time. We spend a lot of time having to do things together as a family for obvious reasons. But sometimes it's very special when you can just spend that one-on-one time with your child, if it's your child or somebody else's child. But yeah, think about that kind of thing as well.
Yeah. We were also thinking about and I've seen that with my clients as well, that you can get some sort of subscription that then gets sent to the person's house and the children can build like a sciencey thing or build something like that, they can build it themselves. So they get all the little pieces in the box, but they're really doing it and building it and using their fine motor skills. They're learning something about it. It can be something with light or with wind, so it's really interesting. So it gets more a bit almost like a learning that they can kind of later use in school as well, but in a bit more playful way. So that can be super nice.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people I've seen now, people do it on a subscription, don't they, Ingrid? So you don't buy a toy that's about that. It's actually a subscription, and there's some element of building on the process. I think it evolves over time, that kind of thing. So I think things like that, subscriptions are super cool to do. And then obviously, before we've got theatre tickets, we've got cinema gift cards. It doesn't always need to be like, here's a thing. It can be, an element of a theatre ticket, for example, that somebody else can put extra money to. So those are the kind of things that we were sort of thinking about really for kids. Audible, is good as well. Credits on Audible for kids. And so instead of giving them actual books, kids are very digital these days. So do think, sometimes we feel like they need a tangible book. And so, but it'd be lovely to do Audible credits and things like that. Yeah, and then it might be just, there's so many cool ideas out there as well, Ingrid, isn't there? And sometimes we have to wait for them to pop up on our Instagram feed to go, well, that's a really good idea, don't we? We don't know about these things until we kind of go and see them. I mean, Etsy in this country is a really good way of finding more unusual gifts. Etsy and not on the high street and stuff like that, where they think outside the box a little bit, don't they, with the gifts? So that'd be a good place to, not necessarily to buy, but to find ideas.
Yeah, and one other thing also popped into my head while we're now talking about this, because I've seen it in one of my clients' houses, that one of her children actually got given kind of the adoption of an animal.
Yeah.
So they're and then of course when you join it, they get a tiger, a fluffy toy sent at home. But then the rest is a picture of the tigers and where they live and their habitat, and you kind of sponsor an animal. Oh gosh, the kids love that as well because they've got posters and and they learn a little bit as well, and they're like doing good for the environment, which of course is super important as well. So you can really, just have a little think around, ask around, put it in, Google, or just cool gifts, and all the ideas can come to you. But there's so much more than just stuff.
Absolutely. So we've done kids, which arguably might be easier.
Yeah.
Now we're moving on to partners, which are notoriously difficult to buy for, particularly if they are of the male variety. And so I think they're really, really difficult to buy for. So Steve and I are already down this route, to be fair. But what do you get for your partner?
Nothing. Like, he gets a card, like the poor Jan. He gets like a card. If he's lucky, bless him. He can eat breakfast in, like a cup of coffee in bed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think what we were talking about opening up those lines of communication and having these difficult conversations early. I think I might be trying to introduce the idea that you might actually give your long suffering husband something to recognize the hard graft that man puts in throughout the course of the year. More than a cup of coffee or in a card. Like, come on, you can do something better than that.
No, we do go out for dinner normally, which we enjoy, or the cinema or something like that. But yeah, I honestly, he doesn't want anything. I wouldn't know. I mean, I don't know.
I don't want anything, Ingrid, but I love getting things. I think that's a complete cop-out. He doesn't want anything. Honestly, who of our generation needs anything? We don't need anything. We get to a stage where we don't want anything. But we do like things because it's about the thought. It's about the thoughts that goes behind it, isn't it? So I'm on a mission now. Jon's going to get something thoughtful for Sinterklaas or Christmas this year. So, you say we go out for dinner, but that's not for Christmas. You just go out for dinner. So it needs to be like a special thing. Just because you go to the cinema a couple of times a year, I'm not having that as your Christmas gift for Jon, the poor guy. Right. So think about something that's nice and you won't both. You're feeling guilty. Look at it. Ingrid's got a guilty face on.
I know.
like
just drop the ball
and let it be known.
Drop the ball here.
Let it be known when the gift comes out and Jon's like super impressed where the idea came from, please. So for partners, obviously there's more extravagant things where it's like a weekend away, a holiday, all of those kind of things. And you could say, you know what, instead of spending, a couple of £100 on each other, which is not uncommon these days, we could get a weekend away for that and a flight over to wherever and have a really nice weekend for that. I think there's also opportunities to do things together, to do like a kind of immersive kind of wine tasting or a pottery class or a cooking class or something like that, right?
I've redeemed myself.
Right.
We went, we did the James Bond Day in London last year. That was brilliant.
So was that a Christmas gift?
Brilliant.
Maybe what you need to be doing is storing some of these ideas that you do randomly through the year and presenting it as a gift over the festive period. And then you can cover both bases. So this is not about going out in the year, Ingrid. This is about presenting. Going,
why would I
love
if
you
I
so
see
much
something
on Christmas morning and going, here's this thoughtful gift that I want to give you on this very special festive day. She's like, she's desperately trying to think about things that she's done with her husband in 2025. That time when we went for a walk together. No, that's not going to cut it. This is a gift, not just a thing.
But just to clarify, I don't want gifts either. So just a bunch of flowers and a card, I'm super happy with. So it's
like
not that I'm high maintenance. And
no, I know.
I do, but
if you got presented, right, just about for your 50th, your sister bought you a trip to Rome. Yeah?
Yeah.
Venice.
Venice.
Venice, right, sorry. Venice.
Yeah.
And you loved it. You loved it.
Yeah.
So when you say you don't want gifts, feel that you did like that gift.
I know. And my mom bought me a beautiful watch, which was amazing as well. So yeah, and of course, but I mean, I don't know.
It's just
I don't
Jan
know.
who's it's just Jan who's getting overlooked. And honestly, if there's ever anybody in your world that needs to be treated, it's that man. Honestly, the poor man. Jan, I'm here for you. I'm doing it for you, right? She will give you something on Sinterklaas or Christmas morning. I don't know which, but it's coming. Okay, so we've made our points. Different people like different things. Ingrid's in denial, of course, that she doesn't like gifts, even though she absolutely loves them. And so we're thinking about doing something nice. We're talking about experiences. We're talking about concerts, plays, going to a comedy again. You know, you can get like comedy nights out there for like £10, or you could pay £70, you know what I mean, for a comedy night. Not all of these things need to be super expensive. We're not talking about West End or Broadway shows for everything. There's loads of kind of shades of grey and different price points. And so have a think about that. We've got things like adventure days, you know, axe throwing. Maybe you could take Jan to that, you know, he could take you. That might be more get his frustration out that you've not actually bought him a gift for the last 20 odd years that you've been married. So anyway, or you can simply have date night. So you can repackage up the things that you're already doing throughout the year as date night, which is obviously very special for a lot of couples, particularly couples with younger children.
Yes, exactly, Leslie. Well, we had another thought to maybe kind of give a voucher so people don't have to do chores. Maybe that will make it very happy. Like, I'm gonna give you a weekend off of to getting groceries on Saturday morning.
Yes,
and you don't have to do any DIY or fixing stuff for me one weekend. Maybe I need to go on that kind of do that. That might be a good idea.
I really want you to do this. I really, if so, actually, we're supposed to be talking to our lovely listeners. Actually, this is all for you, Ingrid. Yeah, all for you. I'll tell you what, it's a really lovely thing as well, which is very special and completely free, is putting together a playlist. What are you looking at me like that for? So like a romantic playlist of things, like songs that mean a lot to each other, but it's a curated playlist. Have you never done that?
No.
Is there anything going on? Any any mutual appreciation whatsoever going on? Like the English, what do you mean? And then the thing is, these people are madly in love with each other. Do you know what I mean? And so maybe they don't need these, you know, these kind of. There's what's all the different your love language and stuff. So I get that you don't need those, right? And so that's absolutely fine. You do you.
I like playlists. Jeez, y'all lots of completely different music than I do. We're gonna end up just completely
some joint music. I've got any joint music, like, you know, when you fell in love when you were in your 20s and you're like, oh, kind of this reminds me, or your wedding songs, or do you know what I mean? Like things that take you back.
I obviously need to do work on this. I'm like, this podcast is completely, I'm on the chopping block here.
Fine. Okay, so we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. I'm like gonna go sobbing into her by the time she comes out. Honestly, I've done all of these things for my lovely husband.
Wow.
Yeah, so actually this podcast is all about rekindling love and companionship, Ingrid.
Okay, I think we're good.
Bye. Okay, so now let's project forward 30 years, Ingrid, and let's think about gifts that we would potentially buy for people that are a little bit older. Yeah, so maybe our parents, grandparents, depending on what age we are. So people that are advancing in years, let's say, who might like something different. We're all different, right? And we like different things at different points of our life. So let's talk about that kind of thing. And we'll take you off the line here. Yeah, we've taken you off the chopping block here.
I'm like sweating. I'm honest. I'm like, shoo, I'm like, I completely ran into this whole thing, eyes wide open, and I got like,
But don't go and tell him tonight. This is what she'll do now. She'll go and tell him and she'll say, Jon, Lesley says that I'm really mean for not buying you a gift. You don't want any gifts, do you? And Jon's going to go, of course I don't want any gifts, Ingrid. I love you anyway. And that's going to be the end of that. And she's going to go, yeah, Jon said it was fine. I'm not getting him anything. And that's the end of that. That's what she'll do. I know. Isn't it?
yes.
She'll get the affirmation from Jon that it's okay. And then that'll be the end of that. Anyway, older people, let's go.
Okay, let me put in my mind, in my frame of mind, but what would I buy, like my mom or my in-laws? I think they love a photograph, like in either in a frame or So I'm good now again. So my mom, for my mom, I've actually we have created a picture of her and the 5 grandkids, like every couple of years apart. We put them in the same order. And then I've got it on like I will have it put on a canvas, like a larger canvas. And she now has 3 of them all on the wall. So the first one is like when they're very little, and they're like Anne with her like pink little leggings and all of that. And then kind of a couple of years later when they are like more like beginning teens. And then one we've got, I think from last Christmas, where they're all like merging into kind of adulthood. It's so nice. It's so nice.
And you do that.
I'm good at that.
Yeah, exactly. You're good at that. But the other thing is you've got to have a foresight for some of those things. So you almost need to think about it. It's either you're really lucky that you've got them in the same positions and stuff like that, or you've got to think about it in advance. You know, there's so many people who recreate photos, don't they? So this is a really lovely thing to do for elderly parents, where there's like a little picture of 3 kids, like my 3 kids, for example, and then they kind of go in the same positions, put similar clothes on, and do that as adults, which is super cute, isn't it?
Yeah.
As a gift for your parents and stuff. So yeah, thoughtful kind of recreations of photos or special meaningful photos throughout the years are always really lovely gifts for older people, because they you know, sometimes we're not able to see. They're not able to see their grandchildren in particular as much as they would like to, particularly if they live in, you know, in a different country or out of state or whatever that might be, or a long way away. So photos are always going to be a winner. I mean, I know one of the things that was a big one, but this is going to the next level of cost. It's kind of a little bit of a lot of money. A little bit of a lot of money. That means a lot of money, by the way. Is to, which I did, was to try and create a legacy for them. So for my dad and my father-in-law, I went to a company called Story Terrace, where they had they told their story to a ghostwriter, and they wrote their life story in a book. And that's really a gift to them. I think I would say that the actual process of going through it was the gift to them, and it's nice for them to have the book, but the gift is then to the rest of the family with the legacy and the actual book, which obviously retains their life story for generations to come. So that's a kind of intergenerational thing, isn't it? But that's not, you're not getting that for 20 quid. I'm just going to tell you now, that's not a £20 gift, but it's a lovely thing to do. And also something that you could club together as a family to do. You know, if you've got a big family, extended family with 15, 16 people, which is not uncommon, and all those people put a little bit of money together, then you've got your legacy book, which is special in itself for the person to do and for you to receive at the end of it.
Yeah. What also might be really nice, and we did that many, many years ago when my dad was still alive, we actually went to a photographer to his studio, and we had some pictures taken with, you know, us whole as a family. So my mom, my dad, and my sister with her family, and me with the family. So with all of us. And that was really nice. So she kind of, he, I think it was he, positioned us like in front of a green screen, and we all thought about the clothing that we were going to wear and things like that. That was really nice as well. And my mom really, really loved that. As you know, as having a picture framed and on her dresser in the living room, and it's, you know, it's still there. So she really, I think photographs are so important, you know, whether it's on a digital frame or on a canvas or in a book or in a photo book that you can create from like, and put it together. I did that for, so my sister turned 50 this year, and I made it amazing. It's called a musical hug, and I found 80 pictures of us from the last 10 years. So I did like a slideshow when she was 40, like with the projector and all of that. But this time I wanted to do it a bit different. So I figured out what her favorite song was. I had my brother-in-law sing it. And then while he was singing, the 80 pictures of the last 10 years between 40 and 50 were shown of us with the kids and her visiting London. And I'm going to see her over Christmas and our Easter weekends and all of that. And honestly, it's like, it makes me super emotional. It took a lot of time, but it was so wonderful. And he made such an amazing, like, it's like a card that you open it up and there's a little video screen and you can watch it. Oh my gosh, it was honestly fantastic. So,
And
yeah.
poor Jon can't even get a playlist. But let's just leave it at that.
For my sister, on the other hand, I go all out. Okay, Jan is okay. I point taken. So I'm not completely rubbish at gift giving.
No, exactly. It's just really about the thought, isn't it? And things like that. But I think, just jumping back as well to the picture side of things. Also, what I've seen a lot of people do nowadays, which is a lovely thing to do, depending on whether or not this is something that makes your older person, let's call it, tick, is to put their faces on like a jigsaw puzzle. That kind of thing is really helpful as well, So it kind of is almost like combines the two. So Ingrid.
So you were like an older person's jigsaw, you said.
Yeah, so I think that jigsaw could really, really, that's a lovely thing to do, depending on whether they want to do jigsaws, right? Just jumping back to the subscription side of things again, getting them a subscription for crossword puzzles or anything like an app, depending on whether they are technical and stuff. There's things like that you can do. But I think just to sort of finish off on on one of the things that's really we've done with my father-in-law and my dad is to try and set up, and this is actually stuff, to be fair, but it's like a smart speaker. So because it's not something that the older generation sometimes, not all, I'm not trying to say, because I'm not being ageist here, but some people are not aware of what that can do. So a smart speaker, which can be of a huge help if you explain how to use it, and that they can use voice activation to play music, to get information about the weather. So something as simple as a smart speaker and the kind of training on that as well. Obviously setting it up, getting it all set up, and then, training them on how to use it and how about, things like that. Super helpful as well. But that is officially stuff, but it's very life enhancing stuff, particularly for somebody who's older who may not have thought of that as a possibility.
Yeah. And of course, if they support a charity and they have throughout all of their lives, maybe a donation in their name for that cause can be really helpful. But of course, also just taking your mom or your dad or your uncle or whoever it is, out for a nice tea and a little chat, or for a nice day out, or spending time with them. And I think that's for them the most important gift, right? Because life whizzes by so fast, and the only thing they want is to love nothing more than to spend some time with the people that they love. So many options.
I think you're right, Ingrid. I think just to sort of to finish this up, the best thing ever for a child, for a partner, for your mum and dad, grandparents, whatever that might be, is the gift of time, isn't it? To spend time with people and to experience nice things together is going to surpass any of the other things that we've spoken about. It's so important to be able to spend that time whilst you can and spend that quality time. So where have we got to? So we've completely berated Ingrid for her lack of thought about her gift giving to her lovely, long-suffering husband. She's going to have a little think about it. She's going to discuss it, and they're going to come back and say, I don't want to do. So you don't. So don't go and say this to Jon. Surprise him with something. Can we agree that?
I'll do my best.
That means no. For anybody that's with it, that means absolutely not. Why change the habit of a lifetime? Okay, let's go, Ingrid.
Yes. So, listeners, I hope this podcast has made you smile a little bit as well, but also has made you think about, okay, how do we do things here in our own family, in our larger family? What's happening with the in-laws and things like that? What is important for us? Can we start to think about intentional giving ourselves first, maybe with the children and within our own families, and then see if we can kind of spread the word to others around us, and think about it now. There is still enough time to come up with things, to maybe Google some other ideas, maybe talk to other people about it and go, how do you guys do it with kind of the festive period? Do you do gifts, and what's happening in your family? Just to kind of get the creative juices flowing. Don't listen to a word that I'm saying, because apparently my poor husband is like, no chance of ever receiving a gift in his life. But I really, really hope that this has made you think. And of course, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks so much for listening to the Declutter Hub podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us in your podcast player so you don't miss an episode, and we'll see you next week.